Yes, guys, welcome to our today's class. We are going to move on where we left yesterday. As you know, just a reminder, we are finalizing with chapter 8, and tomorrow we are going to do chapter 9. Chapter 10, as I said, we won't gonna do it as you already covered most of the lessons or most of the tasks, right? So let's start. I will try to share my screen and we are going to move forward. Let me try to. What I have to. Yeah. Oh, I don't know what to write down. So today we are going to talk about routing, all right? We are going to talk about routing. What does it mean by routing, right? Routing is a process, right? So when we are talking about routing, you have to see a process of connecting networks or a process of connecting routers. So as I told you, when we're talking about internet, we're talking about millions of routers. Those routers are connected around the world. When you are sitting where you are, when you are sending a message to your friend, your message will pass through so many routers, like in the middle, routers from telecom, from Celsi, right? So routing, this is the process that will allow you to connect networks. And when we're talking about networks, we're talking about routers, right? Now, number two, you need to understand that in this lesson, we are going to talk more about routers. You know what is a router? A router will allow you to connect networks, right? And we're going to talk about default gateway. Default gateway, this is the IP address of your router. The IP address that you're gonna give to one of the interface of your router. Or this is the IP address that will allow you to be connected to other networks. Suppose like you have your network, you want to be connected to other networks or to the internet, you can get used to the default gateway, right? So, and we're going to talk about the IP addresses, version 4 and version 6, right? So to summarize, we're going to talk about routing. What does it mean by routing? It's a process of connecting networks, a process of connecting routers, because routers, they will have their own languages or their own programs that you have to know how to connect them. Your responsibility is how to configure them in order for your routers to talk. And we're going to talk about routers. Those are the devices that will connect networks. And we're going to talk about default gateway. You know what is a default gateway? So it's an IP address that will allow you to be connected to other networks or to the internet, right? And we're going to talk about IP addresses version 4 and version 6, all right? This slide is not very important. I'm going to remove it. Okay. Now, when you are talking about a router, all right, you see a router, your router will have what we call a memory. The easiest way that you have to understand. So a router will have a memory. That memory, we call it a routing table, right? Like you, a human being, you got your own memory, right? So a router will have a memory called routing table, right? That routing table is like a database, right? So routers will have routing tables. What does it mean by routing tables? It means database. That database will have columns, and those columns will keep information related to all your networks or routers, right? So routers will have databases. Those databases will allow your router to learn about other networks or other routers. Suppose like I have 5 routers, right? Every router will have information related to other routers. This is how routers, they can talk, they can find each other. There is no magic, right? So for every router, there is a database. That database will know how to reach other routers or how to reach other networks, right? This is the meaning. And your responsibility now, you have to know how to configure, how to build this database, right? How to configure, how to fill this database, because the database is empty. You can plug your routers, you have your router, you plug other routers, right? But those databases will be empty. Your responsibility is to build those databases in order for your router to know how to talk to other routers, all right? Now, you see your database, right? Your routing table. Your routing table will have 3 routes, right? So it means that you're going to have your database, like your database will have maybe 3 columns, right? Those 3 columns are, the first one is directly connected, the second one remote, and the third one the default route, right? So your router will have 3 types of route, right? So when you check the database of your router, that router inside the database will have 3 routes, right? Those routes will allow that router to talk to others, right? There are 3 types of routes. The first one is the directly connected. What does it mean by directly connected? It means this. I got my router here. When I'm going to plug another router, right? And that interface, that port, when I'm going to put it on, and when I'm going to give it an IP address, inside this router, I'm going to see this other router, because I plug it there and I've put it on by typing no shutdown, and I gave it an IP address, right? So this router becomes what? A directly connected router to this one, right? So directly connected routes means that I have a router. Those routers I'm going to plug to this router, right? Those ports where I'm going to plug those routers, when I'm going to put them on by saying no shutdown, and when I'm going to assign them the IP addresses from this router, when I will say show space IP route, I will see all those other routers. So I will see those 5 routers inside this database. Those are the directly connected. And from the database, how you gonna notice like this router is directly connected to this router? You're gonna see a letter C next to the IP address of that router, right? So a router can learn about other routers just by putting the interface on and by assigning them IP addresses, right? So shortly, when you have your router, you connect even 1,000 routers to that router. When those interfaces are on and you give them an IP address, we call those routers directly connected. When you go to that main router, you say show space IP space route, you will see all those other routers because the interfaces are on and you give them an IP address. Now, you can also learn about the remote routers or the remote networks, right? The routers that are not directly connected to your router, right? So you have one router here, there's another one here, but the third one, right? So the third one is connected to the one that in the middle, not to you directly, but you can still learn something about the third network. We call it a remote network. So your router cannot only learn about, cannot only memorize information about the directly connected one. Your router can also learn about those routers that are very far, right? How? Manually or dynamically, right? So you have to configure it manually by doing a static route. So when you configure your static route by doing the IP route, your router will learn about the remote network. You can also doing it dynamically by using a routing protocol. This one is a default route. Inside your routing table, you can see what we call the default route, right? The default route will be used when there is no match, there is no destination, like in a routing table. Like two routers are connected. So if my router doesn't know how to reach this router, my router can use a default route, right? So directly connected route, you are going to see letter C, right? Remote, you're going to see sometimes it's S, O, D, right? Default route, it's S and star, but we are going to say it. Just to summarize, I said routers will have routing tables. Those routing tables will have like information related to other routers, right? So those routers, those neighboring routers will be directly connected or remote or default route, right? But you're gonna see in practice. Okay, let me tell you what I'm talking about first via packet tracer, right? Try to do it now, right? So I'm just waiting. So you can just pick up one PC and one router. So I can pick out the 29. Like I can try to connect. All right. So and I can try to console. Let me see which port I've used. Okay. We're gonna check the routing table, the database of the router. So, okay, interface. So for you to see this network, first it must be like on, no shutdown, and you have to assign it like an IP address. 255.z.0, right? And you can exit, right? So from here, you can go to the privilege mode. You said show IP routes, or you can also say this do, because you are using a wrong mode, but do will allow you to use that command, even though you are using a wrong mode. Do show IP routes. Do show IP routes. So you wanna see what is there like inside your routing table, right? So as we spoke about, you can see here, there is C next to this IP. Means that the database showing you like this IP, this network is directly connected to the router. Via which interface? Gigabit Ethernet 0/0. And the L showing you the IP address of that interface, of this interface, right? This is how you can learn about all the routers that are connected to that particular router. You have a router, other routers or other networks are connected to it. For you to learn about those networks, you can just go to your switch, to your router, you say show space IP route, right? And you have to be careful by checking the letter. When you see C showing you like it is directly connected. So this network is directly connected to your router via which interface? And what is the IP for that interface? It's this one. The L shows the IP address of that interface, right? Let's move forward. Yeah. Okay. Static route, we already spoke about the static route. I won't gonna repeat it twice, right? What else? Maybe I've jumped something. Directly connected static route. Yes. Okay. The static route, you know that it must be configured manually by you, must be adjusted manually by the administrator when there is a change like in a topology. So it's for small networks, right? And when we are talking about dynamic routing means you're gonna use it when you wanna discover remote networks. You're gonna use it especially for CCNA2. So I don't wanna spend more time like here because it's a lesson that is normally for CCNA2, right? Now, this is what you have to understand. When you type show IP route, you must be careful of the letters that will be showing next to your IP. When you see C, C means this network is directly connected to this router. When you see L, the L shows the IP address of the interface. When you see S, the S shows like the static route had been used, right? Maybe the previous guy who configured your router used the static route. So if you see S next to a network IP, you will know that this network was learned using what? A static route. So it means they configured a static route. Your router knew about this network via static route. When you see O, the O means OSPF, dynamic route, by using which protocol? The OSPF. When you see D, D shows AEGRP, and there are so many questions you're going to get, right? So when you are asking your router to show you the database by typing show space IP space route, you must be careful by checking the letter next to the network IP. There's L, there is C, there is S, there is O, there is D. Right? So always be careful, right? For the default, there's S and star. This is the default route. For the exam, you must be careful and check on this one, right? So you are going to do just my exercises. You can go here, maybe you have those two routers, right? You try to connect them. You connect those two routers. You put this interface on, this one on, you assign it an IP address, you assign it an IP address. Let me give you a network here. You can use this range, right? So what you're gonna do, you give this port an IP address. You give this one to an IP address following this range, and you say no shutdowns, and you go to every router, you just say show IP route when you're in privilege mode. But if you are not in privilege mode, you can say do space show IP route, right? And beside that, this one, and on top of the place, you can check for me, you only check the show IP routes. You can also do this one for me. All right. No port available. Eh? So you're gonna add port. You're gonna add port, right? So you're gonna add some port to these computers. You add port on this router, you add your port on this router, and you add and you connect. All right. So I don't wanna waste time, right? You know what to do, and you're gonna check show space IP routes, right? Let me go to my slide. Yeah. So this is, right, how you have to deal with this show IP route, right? Show IP route means you're asking the database. You want to see what is there on the database. It will allow you for troubleshooting. You're in front of a router. You see like users cannot be connected. Your mind must go to what is there first? What is there like in the database? How will I know what is there inside at the database? By typing show IP root, right? And that there is something that is okay. Now we are going to talk about how a host root, right? How a host root, right? Now, the most important point here you have to understand is this. When we are talking about a host, so it can be a computer, right? So a computer can send a message to itself by using which IP 127.0.0.1. A computer can send a message to a local host, means you can send it to another device or to a switch or to a router, and a computer can send a message to a device that is not locally, that is not connected locally, right? So we're talking about a host, like a PC, like your computer, right? Your computer will create what we call a packet, right? You create a packet, right? Your own message, and your computer will have its own routing table that we are going to see soon. And your computer, your host, can send a message to itself by using this 127.0.1. You can send a message to some of the computers that are locally connected, like to you. You can also send to remote computers, right? So when I go like to CMD, right? So I can ping myself by using the 127.0.0.1. So this one, it means I'm testing if my network interface card can receive and send the data. This is the meaning. So your host can communicate to itself. So I can also try to talk to a remote computer. Let me try to ping a website to see if my computer can communicate to the internet or can be connected to the internet, or my computer is connected to the internet. I can ping a particular website, right? So sometimes when somebody is not connected to the internet, or maybe somebody's connected, maybe there's a problem with a browser or something else, you can try to ping also a particular website, right? This is the meaning of this part, right? Now, when your PC, the source device, right, want to talk to other devices, right? Your source device needs to understand if the communication is local or remote. So when a PC wants to talk to another PC, your PC will try to understand by comparing the market, the IP addresses. So your PC will ask a question. I want to talk to a local computer or to a remote computer, all right? For IPv4, when you're using this IPv4, your computer will check like its IP address and the subnet mask compared to what? Destination IP address. So what does this mean? When you are using IPv4, your computer, right? Suppose like I want to send to you a message, like a Gmail message. My computer will check for its own IP address, MAC address, compared to your IP address, in order for my computer to understand if we are in the same network or not. So I have to do a comparison. I have to compare my IP and my subnet to your IP. So the comparison will happen between source IP and destination, right? For IPv6, source uses the network address and the prefix advertised by the local router, right? So you're gonna use, for IPv6, we are using the network address and the prefix for the local router, right? This is what does it mean? Now we're talking about this default gateway. As I said, default gateway, shortly, this is the IP address that will allow you to be connected to other networks or to the internet, right? And sometimes you can call it like a router or a layer 3 switch. So a layer 3 switch, we do have layer 2 switches and layer 3 switches. Layer 3 can operate as a default gateway, right? So now, what are the features of a default gateway? Right? Your default gateway must have an IP address in the same range as the rest of the LAN. So you have like 10 computers, you have your router. Your router, that interface where you're gonna plug your switch or your computer must have like an IP address using the same range as other networks, right? And your default gateway will accept like data and be able to forward it to other networks, right? And your default gateway can take your message and send it to other networks. This is what does it mean. So if a device has no default gateway or a bad default gateway, its traffic will not be able to leave the LAN. If you are using a wrong default gateway or your PC uses a wrong default gateway, you cannot be connected to the internet or to other networks. So sometimes most of the people cannot connect to the internet because of the default gateway IP. All right. Now, your computer can get a default gateway manually by you, an administrator, or dynamically by using a DHCP. DHCP can be another router that can give it your PC an IP address, or like a server that can give your PC an IP address. For IP version 6, there is what we call router solicitation, or you can also do it manually. So when you are using IP version 6, your router will ask for this IP, right? Static routes, which will be a last resort route in the routing table, right? All devices on the LAN will need of the route if they intend to send traffic remotely. So all devices requires a remote gateway or a default gateway, right? Now, how to check, right? You know, when you have your computer, right? Your computer will have like its own routing table. Like my PC here, my laptop will have like its own database. That database will keep all the networks that I can talk to and my IP addresses. How to check it? I can just go to CMD, right? You must do the same. You can also say router print. Oh, no. Let's start with this one. Net start. Oh, why am I typing the wrong things? Okay, net start. So you only type what? You only type net. No, there's no R. Net start dash R, right? This one will give to you information related to your IPv4 route. What does it mean? Your PC knows about those networks. The first column. Sorry. Destination networks, their subnet mask, and this is your IP. Like here, there is one of the network, the default one. When there is nothing, when there is no match, there's a network called 0000, and you can reach it using this IP. There is this network, the loopback 127.0.0.0. You can reach it using this IP. There is this network again with the subnet mask. You can reach it using this IP. There's another network here, the broadcast one. You can reach it using this IP. There's also this one. So this column shows the network that your PC can reach. And those are the subnet mask, right? This is the gateway, default gateway, and this is the interfaces, the IP addresses of your PC. So your PC will use this IP to talk to this network. Your PC will use this IP to talk to this network, right? So when you wanna know the database, the routing table of your computer, you can just type net start. space dash R, right? This is what does it mean. And yes, there's another one that is called root print. You can also use this root print. I don't know why it doesn't work. Okay, the root prints, so it's working also, it's still the same root prints or net start. It gives you a database. A database will show you all the networks that your PC can talk to and the IP addresses associated to that particular or those networks. Right? So, and for IPv6, this is routing table for IPv4, and this is the routing table for IPv6. So to summarize, I said this, your computer will have a routing table, like a database that will keep all the networks that your PC can reach. And for every network, there is the default gateway for that network and the IP address for your computer to reach that network. How to reach it, how to check that database, you can say net start space dash R, or you can say root space print. Right? Okay, thank you very much. You can try to practice, guys, and we can move to other lessons, but make sure that after this you can start like practicing, right? Because on Thursday or Friday you are going to write your exam from chapter 7 to 10. Thank you very much.